Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Behind the Group podcast. I am DJ Keo.
And I am Basil Barrington. And I am Basil Barrington.
We got the
and,
giggles today, man.
and we are back with another review. Today we are going to review The Brain That Wouldn't Die. This is a 1962 film, so this is a classic
Yeah,
sci-fi slash horror
it's
film.
a horror movie for sure,
Right.
100%.
IMDb gave this joint a 4.5. Yo,
Uh, yeah, go
y-
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
you know what's super duper interesting about this film?
Mhm,
I was like doing some research on this film, just trying to find out what was the budget for this film. The
mhm.
budget for this film was $60,000.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That
It
sounds about
looked
right
like
for
it,
the
well,
time.
62. It looked like a $62,000 film, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, there's interesting things about this movie, the way it was shot.
Yeah,
Because normally when they have stuff in a car, they just throw a projector behind the screen and whatever.
right.
But they had mounted the camera on top of the car,
Yeah.
and they were driving around like in a bunch of places. You can see they were actually driving somewhere. And the other thing was interesting. They had like the cameras moving around like handheld when
Yeah.
he was like running up with the. He had the head like a football. He's running up the hill,
Like,
and
dude, you
the
like,
camera's right behind him. Like
yeah.
this is stuff like these unique things that they're doing, like cinematography wise.
This film was crazy. I was like, again, I was doing some research on this. So this film was like
Yeah.
completed like in the late 50s,
Mhm.
but there was some copyright issues, so it was released in
Mhm.
1962. Yeah, but this is
This is like it's like a grindhouse, a early grindhouse type movie.
exactly. It's
It's
like
like it's
it
gory and
feels
violent.
like it feels like a new sort of a new film person, a new, person
A
who
new
got into
director.
film. Right, exactly.
Yeah,
And they were
yeah.
like handheld
Something.
camera or something like that, and it was just
It's a
crazy
lot of
like that.
experimental shots and stuff like that.
Right,
It's
exactly.
interesting.
So yeah, it was crazy, man. But let me go
It's an
here really.
auteur.
Oh my goodness, it was so crazy, man. It was just like I couldn't believe how silly this film was. Okay, so this is
Mhm,
a
mhm.
basically horror sci-fi about a mad scientist, a
Yeah,
mad doctor, right?
yeah. He's
It,
going beyond science.
exactly. So
His own experiments.
it kind of felt like a Frankenstein, like you were saying offline. It kind of felt like a
Yeah.
Frankenstein movie. A lot of people online alluded it to like
Mhm,
Frankenstein. I also read that this wasn't the first, movie of a brain or a head. There was actually a movie
mhm.
like this back in 1925. I mean, imagine that, a movie like that back in 1925 with just a
Mhm.
head. And then they
Yeah.
also spoke about like how there were a few West German movies that also were
Mhm.
horror and they just had a head. And this movie sort of came from those West German movies. So it was, again, it
Yeah.
was an interesting movie. It was corny. Obviously, it looked like it was
It
just a
was very
handheld sort of thing, just
yeah.
$62,000. You're not going to get a lot for in 1962,
Well, I
right?
mean, 1960 something, that's a lot of money though, so
Yeah. Mhm.
the fair amount, that's like 20 it'd be equivalent of, like, making a movie like $5 or $6 million today.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean,
that kind of
dude,
level of skill and quality
in
rise, not so much the money
1962,
value.
if you made $62,000 a year, you were rich. You were like upper
Yeah,
class
you're a
for
baller.
real,
Yeah,
you
you're a
know?
baller for sure. So,
I
but, like, as
mean,
as far as quality-wise for, like, filmmaking, 62 million was, like, the equivalent of, like, $2-3 million movie, like, indie
exactly.
movie today,
Yeah.
especially because of, the equipment that was required. Because they had to build sets, they had to do a bunch of stuff. Like, that the money goes in is not just filming, they do the film process of
Mm,
changing whatever over, but, like, the quality-wise, it fit the time frame, but
yeah.
it definitely reminded me of movies, like, from the '40s or whatever, not so much well, because there's certain aspect of it that's, like, kinda modern, like the running with the camera, that's modern,
Mhm.
and, having the car mounted with the camera and that kinda stuff, that's
Yeah.
modern, but
Yeah.
the actual feel of the movie is very ancient.
Yeah.
It's like a classic old school black and white movie for sure.
I
So let me
remember
ask you this.
what's up?
Uh, what'd you think about the horror element? Because like there's horror, there's like scantily clad women.
Mhm.
There's beauty pageants, and then there's like a big monster, like a Frankenstein monster with a cone. Like
Yeah.
there's a bunch of stuff. It seems like a very taboo movie.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that?
When the monster or the deformed person came out of the closet, like when
Mhm.
it came out, I mean, I got chills. I was shocked a little bit. I was like, whoa,
Yeah, because
that.
what are you gonna make him look like?
Yeah,
What is it gonna look
so
like?
and that was like, in the 50s and 60s, that
Mhm.
was horror, like where, you expose the person who was considered like a horrific, so the
Mhm.
person
Yeah,
came
yeah,
from, behind a door or something like that. And it was just like, dun, dun, and you saw the
yeah, yeah,
person. So
yeah,
there was,
yeah.
and then like actually the brain, that was horrific too after he finished. And then you showed her and I was just like,
Mhm.
whoa, this is crazy. And then a deformed like PA or like,
Yeah, he's got
physician's
skull
assistant,
pants.
all that stuff,
His hands all jacked up.
and
Yeah, yeah.
it was it wasn't super duper gory horror, but there was
Mhm.
back in the 60s and 50s, you didn't need the super duper gory
Yeah.
horror, so this was
We're
like
desensitized
this
today
was
about
high
this
end
stuff.
horror back in like 62. This was
Mhm.
it. So I
Yeah.
wasn't mad at the horror portion of it. I mean, again, for 62, I mean, based on today's standard, that would be like a comedy, you know,
Yeah, I know.
right? It's
You'll
just
be
like,
laughing at this like, "Yo, where's
yeah,
the horror gonna kick in?"
exactly, so but in
Mhm.
62, I appreciate that form, that type of horror. Do you want to
Yeah.
give a brief overview, or do we just want to just like kick it?
Oh, we get the general idea. For people who are never gonna watch this movie, you have to
Mhm.
take our word for a lot of this stuff, but the general idea is we have a doctor who's going beyond science. He's running his own experiments, he's trying to revive human life and do transplants. And basically, he's driving down the street with his girlfriend, he gets in a horrible accident, and her head gets cut off. And he decides that he's gonna go to a strip club and get
Mhm.
her a better body. That's the movie right there. He's gonna
Yo,
upgrade her.
listen, and that's basically it. And then
Yeah, that's basically yeah.
so it's also sort of interesting that when okay, first of all, like we were talking about the camera action, like when they were in a
Mhm.
car driving up to the country house, um
Yeah.
and how he just floored it, and he was just going through these
That dude's driving
winding
crazy with no
roads throughout the
seatbelts.
country.
They didn't have
it,
seatbelts back then.
it was
He was
it
just
was
like
it was crazy, but he was tossed and her head was severed. So I
Mhm.
was like, really? Okay. It was like kind of weird, but he was also like super arrogant too. The doctor was
Oh, yeah,
super
he's,
arrogant. He was just
have
smoking
have you seen the
cigarettes, drinking,
have
not
you seen
drinking,
the
but
TV
smoking.
show?
And who? Which TV show?
There's a TV show called Nip and Tuck. And it was on FX like a bunch of years ago. And it's
Yep.
like
Hmm.
these guys that did plastic surgery and they're
Yep. Hmm.
super arrogant. They
Yep.
feel like they're God, whatever. That's
Right.
he
Hmm.
had those vibes throughout the
Yep.
movie. Like I
Hmm.
don't know how he even had a girlfriend. Like he seems like a jerk. Like
Yeah.
the whole movie, like
Nip and
super
Tuck.
arrogant.
You've lost the urge to experiment.
Nip and Tuck was kind of cool though. I'm surprised
Yeah, yeah, that was a
they just
wild
like
show.
said, hey, you know what? I'm gonna like cancel this show. But
Yeah, yeah.
so it was also okay. So this was his girlfriend. So him and
Mhm.
his girlfriend, were in his girlfriend's car. They were going up to his country house, and
Yeah.
basically they got in an accident, and her head was severed. And so he
Chicago
was like, as a
Records.
as a mad scientist, a person who's trying to do transplants and things of that nature, which was
Yeah.
completely new back in '62, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not even around, but these are people experimenting, with like
Mhm.
science and everything. And then he brought the head back to the
Like
country
a
house.
football. He's
Yes,
holding like a loaf of bread. Like he's walking up there with
in
his
his
coat.
in his blazer, and I was just like,
Yeah.
okay, this is sort of weird, right? Then he took it home, back to the
Mhm.
country house, and he was like, I'm gonna save her. And so he
Mhm.
saved her brain, her head. So basically it was just
Yeah,
her head,
yeah,
brain,
yeah.
everything working. And so what he needed was a body.
A fresh
So
new body.
a fresh new
So his
body.
first thought is, "I'm gonna go to strip club." That was his first thought.
well,
Like,
well,
my
you know
beautiful
what?
girlfriend, my fiancée died.
Mhm.
I gotta go to strip club. I gotta get a better body. Like,
Okay, but here's the thing, right? If you're looking for a woman with a banging behind body, where do you
fair
go?
enough.
You go to
Fair
the
enough.
strip club. He didn't care
Yeah,
about
no,
the head.
he
He was
wasn't.
like, this woman has to have a banging body. I gotta find
Yeah,
like a lower half with a banging body, you know?
he's just
So it's
gonna
just
put
like,
her on and then be done with it. But like that,
yeah.
I laughed so hard when I saw that the first place he went was like strip club. Like, okay, that killed me. And the girls walking down the street so that he could go to the
Oh
fashion
my
show,
goodness.
the
Oh,
bikini show. That
it's
killed both of those two things. Killed me. They're so improbable and
mhm.
ridiculous in his face,
it was
but interesting.
it was
Especially
super
like the dynamic of how the people were talking.
yes, it was super creepy. It felt a little bit like Son of Sam, just Son of Sam out on the prowl, just like,
Yes.
hey, I'm looking for a
Yes.
woman, and
Hmm.
both I think it was three women, but all three women sort of like looked back and was like, this guy, this is weird. This guy is strange. Why is he like slowing down and
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
at me and everything? But they were also looking like, what are you trying to do
Yeah.
tonight? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Get
so
that
I
vibe.
don't know what was going on with that, but something was. And so anyway, he went to a some place to just sit
Fashion
in at
show.
this like
To-
contest.
I don't understand why he would go there. Well, I mean, I know why he needed a body, so he had to go there. But like
Mm,
in general, why would somebody like that doctor go to a bikini fashion show?
yeah.
That made no sense to me as a as a story narrative. It didn't make any sense to me. But they did their thing, right? So
Mhm.
there you go.
And let's not forget what we're talking about is the doctor, the mad
Mhm.
scientist, the doctor. He needed to
Yeah,
find a
you need a
woman
body. Yeah, you need a
who had
body.
the right body he needed, and he was going to kill her.
Yes.
Let's not forget
No,
that. He
it's
was going to kill
scumbag.
her. Yeah.
This is the all the horror elements of this guy
Yeah.
is gonna go find a woman, cut her head off, and attach his girlfriend's head on it, and call it a day. Like everything's gonna be good from there on out.
Right.
Like, what
And
was his thought process? Like,
it's
she's gonna be
crazy,
like, "Yeah,
right?
you saved me. All right, back to business as usual." Like,
And then old girl, like just the head, the brain, they said the brain is the head and the brain. And
mhm.
he actually experimented on someone. He basically took all these parts, these limbs, and put
Yeah,
them together and like created a person. Like that didn't
yeah.
go well. So he locked this person up in a closet, was feeding him food through a window, right? He,
Everything
he was like, he locked this fool up for life. This fool was like locked
right,
up for life,
hiding in the closet. Well, you
you
can't
know.
bring him out anywhere. He's gonna go
Right,
crazy. So
exactly. And so the brain started communicating with this person behind the door because they were in the same room, and she was like, "We're going to get him. We have powers."
yeah,
You know,
she turned into a hater, man.
I'm
Let's be
telling you, she
real.
was like, "No, no, 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 no." But I'll tell you this here: when
She's right
the
though.
when the malformed person came out of the closet, basically he killed
Mhm.
like the PA, and he
He
also
basically
killed the
killed everybody.
doctor.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
person he left with when he bounced wasn't the head; it was
He
the
got the new
stripper.
girl. Yeah,
It was the
yeah.
stripper with the,
The
the short
fashion
chick with the
model.
nice body, for real,
Yeah, the
for
fashion
real.
model. He took her up.
No, she wasn't a fashion model. She was a stripper.
Well, yeah.
Big
This
difference there,
movie's so wild. I'm saying, like, culturally, this movie's nuts for that
Yeah,
time frame. Because
I thought,
like the Bible Belt and those kind of people are like, oh hell no, not in
yeah,
my cinema.
I thought it was super interesting that the malformed, the deformed person that he put
Yeah, yeah,
together, when the whole like laboratory went up in flames, what he left with, although he created a relationship with the brain,
yeah.
but
But you was thinking maybe he
Mhm.
thought that was the person that was talking to him the whole time.
Well, remember they were talking, and she said, "I'm deformed. You
Oh yeah, she
can't.
said she was deformed
I
too.
think I'm
Yeah,
more horrible than you." But
but
again,
she never said she was just a head though.
but you know what? Again, when he came out the closet and when he was about to bounce, this deformed person, he
Yeah,
bounced
he was
with
like,
the woman. He didn't bounce with the head. He bounced with. He was like, "Wait a minute. Oh, she looks hot, y'all. I'm going with
he was
her,
like
y'all,
stripper time. All
for
right,
real."
let's go.
And I was
He's like
just like,
save the strippers
wow,
first. And then
dude, this was crazy as anything. So, it was also kind of interesting that, he was, his whole purpose was to find a woman, to kill the woman, to use the
Mhm.
woman's body from the head down, from the shoulders down, and then transplant his girlfriend's head onto this
Yeah.
body. The PA made a very good point. He said
Yeah.
he was like, you know what? Well, it's not the same heart, it's not the same spirit, it's not the same soul,
Mhm.
He made a lot of sense, like that heart, that soul, that's really real. That's part of the person.
Mhm.
You know, um,
Yeah.
what happens when you take the person's brain away or the head away and you put another one on? Does that person retain their soul, their heart, everything else?
That's a
Just
good
like,
question. Like that's the
yeah,
transhumanist question about if we put human bodies into robots,
right,
are they still a human?
right.
Yeah, you have the was it? That's not Blade. Well, Blade Runner 2, but it's not what's the sci-fi thing? Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
That's the
Oh yeah. Go.
argument
Oh
for
yeah.
Ghost in the
Yep.
Shell.
Go. Well,
Where
Cyberpunk was also like that a
yeah,
little
yeah,
bit, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk 2.
Yeah, Ghost
Yeah.
in the Shell is like that for real because they take the brain and put it into like these AI, and
Mhm.
everything else. So that's like pretty cool. Yeah. But the film ended, it sort of ended
You know what's
when,
gonna happen.
yeah, it was gonna happen. So the doctor came
Yeah,
in, the
yeah,
the thing in the closet, the deformed person, or whatever he
yeah.
created, his experiment, like broke through the doors because the brain said now, and she was like,
Yeah.
oh, he grabbed her, yo, you know what? I was looking at, I don't remember the person's name who played the deformed person in the closet,
Mhm.
but this person's like 6'9", 6'10".
Yeah, you gotta be a big dude. He's
I mean,
very,
did you
he had
see his
giant hands.
hands? His hands were
Yeah,
like, I was just like, whoa.
that's like a basketball player from back. He was giant. He was a very
Yeah.
big dude.
Yeah, it was
So
very interesting. And one other funny thing was like when they were
Mhm.
at the strip club and then they
that
panned.
that whole process killed me. The strip club scene, that the whole thing killed me.
Listen, I've never seen a strip club like that, where it's just like someone's dancing with like, all sort of, just
It was like
basically,
a burlesque thing.
yeah, basically,
It's more of burlesque. Yeah,
basically it
but
was. And I was just like, oh my goodness. But
mhm.
how it ended was like uneventful. It just basically,
Yeah, it's like we're
the
done here. We
person
ran out of script.
the person who got the girl in the end was the deformed person, not the doctor or the PA.
Yeah, but I mean, like when she wakes up, we'll see about that.
Yeah,
I don't think she's gonna be like, "Yeah, you saved me." I don't think she's gonna realize what really happened
she's gonna be
'cause she
like,
was asleep the whole time.
because she was like, she kept saying she hates men. She hates men. Just
Yeah.
like I hate men. And it's just like, well, you okay, well, you
Well,
hate men.
she had the original OnlyFans though, because she had those guys come into her studio to
Yep,
film
for
her.
real.
So
She's
that's the
that
OG
was
OnlyFans right
that was
there.
the she was the OnlyFans before OnlyFans. I think
Yeah, that's
OnlyFans
the
got this from
OG.
her, for real.
Yeah,
You
she's
know,
the triple OG right there.
this
That's
is a
somebody's
crazy.
grandma.
Oh my goodness, forget about it. This was a crazy film made in 1962.
Yeah.
What are you going to rate The Brain That Wouldn't Die?
Okay, just for the pure comedy alone, I give it a 7. For the actual movie, it's like a 4.
Yeah.
It's not a good movie. Like the pacing's terrible. Like
Mhm.
the scenes drag on too long. The premise is interesting, but they didn't really flesh it out to a way to go to a good conclusion. Like the acting was abysmal, but like it was hilarious though. So I'm
Yeah.
saying for the comedy, it's a 7.
Yeah.
But actual cinematography and movie stuff, it's a 4
No.
about roughly.
Dude, okay, listen. Okay, I'm gonna rate it the same way, right? So for the just the comedy factor, I'm gonna give it
The
an 8.
cat fight alone was worth
Yeah,
money on
right.
that.
I'm gonna give it an 8 for the comedy factor, just the slapstick moments, the laugh out loud moments. But the movie, just as it like was constructed, I'm giving it like a 5.
Mhm.
Um, let's not forget, even though this is 1962, because we reviewed films that were created in the
Yeah,
'50s that
old
were made
movies. Yeah,
that were the budgets were like $1 million and above. So this
yeah,
film
yeah,
cost the budget estimated budget for this film was
mhm.
$62,000, right? So
Yeah,
it really looked like a cheesy film. It was definitely one of those like Friday night, drive-in theater sort of films. You
yeah.
went there with your boys, your homegirls, whatever. But yeah,
Mhm.
this was an 8 in terms of like the comedy factor. And I'm gonna
Sure,
give it a
grade A
5 just
comedy.
for the movie because it was just cheesy, but it was like a
Yeah.
fun film to watch. And this is what I was kind of like thinking about this film really
Mhm.
quickly. You know, we watched Kill Boksoon, right?
Yeah.
And that film was 2 hours and 17 minutes.
That was way
And
too long for
it would have been really cool if it was an hour and 30 minutes. This film
Yeah.
here, The Brain That Wouldn't Die,
Mhm.
was an hour and 10 minutes. Really an hour because the credits were 10. Well, they didn't even have
Yeah, the
credits,
credits
you know,
come out real quick,
right?
like
Yeah. But see, that's what I'm saying. You know, if you know what you are, know who you are. This is a budget. This
Mhm.
is a cheesy budget film for $62,000. Don't like make it 2 hours long. This is an hour long film. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
where they
Well,
got it
'cause
right, you know?
the story wasn't gonna go anywhere longer than that. Like half of the story was him trying to find a new girl to replace his old girl.
Yeah.
That's a good chunk of the story.
Yeah.
It starts off in the operating room. Then he's gonna go with his girlfriend on a drive, and then the bulk of the entire movie is him trying to find another girl.
Right.
That's the good chunk of the movie. Like
Yeah.
70% of the movie is that.
Yeah.
So like, hey, he could easily trimmed it down. It could have been like 40 minutes
It could have been,
easily.
yeah, exactly. You know, because you know, that's a very good point because, you know, when you think about the film itself,
Mhm.
there wasn't a lot of talking in this film. There was more music being played by itself than
Yeah.
people talking, you know?
They had the saxophones and everything blaring.
Right.
Like, you know what? This is
Dum, 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 dum,
right. This
dum,
to
dum,
me,
dum, dum.
this movie is like a Twilight Zone episode.
Exactly.
Like a
Yeah.
good half an hour or whatever it
Yep.
is, like
That's
40
what it
minutes.
was. Yeah.
It's a Twilight Zone episode of like science has gone too far. You
Yeah.
come to the Twilight Zone,
Exactly.
whatever.
Exactly.
That's what the movie felt like.
Very
Just like good,
cheesy.
yeah. But overall, it was fun though. It's still
Is it?
fun.
It's you know.
That the cat fight, the way the girls are talking to you, like, hey there, like
Yeah.
it's so ridiculous.
I mean, the language,
The
the
teeth are
vernacular
talking.
back then was like so
Yeah,
interesting, you know. But you know, it was the '60s. You know what I'm saying? So,
it
and the
was very,
film was
it was
made in
pretty.
it was made and finished in the '50s, and it was released in
Yeah,
'62. So, you
it's
know,
a grindhouse movie.
yeah,
It the vibe of it was extra over the top. Like it was a lot of sexual stuff in there too. Like
yeah,
the girl he saw in the street, she was like, "I'll do whatever you want me to do." Like
mhm,
he's like, "I'm coming to look at your body." Like the way they were talking is just over the top.
yeah,
It had that is a taboo, like the movie that you're not supposed to show your kids, that kind of thing. That's what the whole movie is.
yeah. It's a fun movie. Definitely
But
watch
it's
it if
fun.
you. Yeah, it's
It's
available
fun.
on Amazon for free, no
Mhm.
commercials. You know,
Yeah.
Amazon is really bubbling up on these like old classic films. Go check it out on Amazon. If you have Amazon Prime, it's a dope film.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Behind the Groove podcast. I am Basil Barrington.
I am DJ Keo.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And until next time, peace.
All right.